Wow, Newsom is at it again with with about 3 weeks left until his ouster from office. He is threatening more water restrictions on Californians. Hello and welcome to Sweet Home California. My name is Jennifer. And yeah, so it's being reported in several different articles that I will link to in the description that Governor Newsom is considering putting into place mandatory water restrictions. Right now, he has been urging Californians to reduce water usage by about 15%, but apparently that's not doing the job. So today he said that he was considering mandatorily imposing water restrictions that would be followed up with fines and things like that if people didn't follow suit. Well, Newsom has been pushing this high-speed rail from, I think, LA all the way going up into Sacramento area. That's at a cost of billions of dollars. It's not really going anywhere. Everything's going above budget and everything. Well, for the amount of money that he was considering to do that, maybe he could have invested some more into some water infrastructure. There is plenty of water in this country. And instead of doing that, he is pouring water off into the ocean, not letting our farmers have it. And now he wants to restrict our water usage even further. It's ridiculous. So anyhow, I hope that this causes more people to wake up that to the mismanagement of this state, and people will remember these articles when they're going to vote their ballot, whether it be by mail or in person on September 14th. But let me read to you what the Mercury News had to say. It is entitled, Governor Newsom says mandatory statewide water restrictions for California may be on the way. In a visit to Big Basin Redwood State Park, Governor talks climate change and wildfire recovery. Well, that's another big source of water that we use. It's our wildfires. If he would spend some time and effort in helping to reduce how much our wildfires spread, maybe we wouldn't have to use so much water. Can you imagine how much water is being used to fight these fires? Our humidity levels in the area that I live in Southern California is normally between like 10 and 25%. Last night it was up to 58%. And our air is full of smoke from the wildfires. So this water that's being used on these fires is making its way down here. It's making my swamp cooler really hard. It doesn't work very well when it's humid, so then I have to actually turn on my air conditioner to survive 105 degree temperatures down here. But anyhow, back to the article. Governor Gavin Newsom said Tuesday that he may put mandatory water restrictions in place as soon as 6 weeks from now as the state's historic drought continues to worsen. 6 weeks. Hopefully he will not be here in 6 weeks and we can find other more reasonable solutions to our water situation. The declaration came as the governor and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Michael Regan inspected recovery efforts at Big Basin Redwood State Park in the Santa Cruz Mountains 1 year after the massive wildfire burned through the park's ancient redwoods. Asked if he was going to require cities to meet mandatory water conservation targets, as former Governor Jerry Brown did statewide during the last drought from 2012 to 2016, Newsom noted that he had already called for a 15% voluntary conservation, but that could change soon. At the moment, we're doing voluntary, the governor said, but if we went into another year of drought, and as you know, our water season starts October 1st, so that's where that 6 weeks comes in, we will likely have more to say by the end of September as we enter potentially the third year of this current drought. Please, Lord, let him not be in office come the end of September. Continuing, California is currently suffering through its worst drought in nearly 50 years. Mandatory water conservation targets would likely mean widespread limits on watering lawns with fines for violators, along with water allotments for homes and businesses, as occurred during the last drought, as a tactic to keep supplies from running out. Overall, 88% of the state is in extreme drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, a weekly report issued by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the NOAA, and the University of Nebraska. After the least rainfall in any 2-year period since 1975 to 77, reservoirs in many places across Northern California have fallen to shockingly low levels. The largest state-owned reservoir in California, Lake Oroville in Butte County on Tuesday, was just 23% full, the lowest since it was built in 1969. Last week, the dam operator shut down the reservoir's hydroelectric power plant because there's no longer enough water in it to spin the turbines. Wow, what a difference a couple years makes. I believe it was maybe only 2 or 3 years ago that the Oroville reservoir was in danger of overflowing. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law had to evacuate, or at least they tried to evacuate. The roads were so clogged with everybody trying to evacuate, they couldn't get anywhere. Luckily, it didn't burst, and they were able to shore it up without any damage. But so it goes from overflowing a couple years ago to now it's at 23% of its capacity. And now we also don't have the power from there. And of course, you know that California has issues with rolling blackouts as well. So yet another issue that's happening under Newsom's watch. Continuing with the article, other large reservoirs around California are nearly as low. The largest, which is Lake Shasta, was 29% full on Tuesday. Folsom Reservoir, north of Sacramento, was 23% full. San Luis, east of Gilroy, was 16% full. Some communities, including Mendocino and Fort Bragg, are in danger of running out of water entirely. On July 8th, Newsom asked all Californians to reduce their water consumption by 15% voluntarily. But some experts say that isn't enough given the gravity of the situation. I was glad to see him pay more attention to the drought, but I'm sorry it wasn't more than 15%, and I'm sorry it wasn't mandatory, said Peter Gleek, President Emeritus of the Pacific Institute, a nonprofit water research center based in Oakland. There has been a clear underestimate of the speed and intensity of this drought, said Gleek, who has written 11 books about water policy and climate. There should have been calls months ago for expanded conservation and efficiency. There should have been calls for more aggressive and mandatory restrictions. This is a very severe drought, and we don't know when it's going to end. If we are lucky, it will end with the next rainy season. If it doesn't, we are going to be sorry we didn't save more water sooner. Brown had issued a statewide order for communities to reduce water use 25% in 2015 during the state's 2012 to 2016 drought, after voluntary efforts proved insufficient. Each city was given a different target based on its per capita water use, with fines for failing to meet the targets and monthly updates on progress. The state overall achieved a 24.5% reduction. Newsom noted that he had already declared a drought emergency in 50 of California's 58 counties, which can make them eligible for state and federal assistance. We are likely going to need to do that with the entire state, he said. Newsom recently toured Oroville to see its low levels and asked whether he was planning to shift the state from voluntary to mandatory conservation targets. He said, quote, "We are monitoring conditions in real time, and as is the case so often with so many issues we are facing, not the least of which is COVID, we are open to facts." Sure. We are not ideological about the nature of the challenge and the willingness to lean in and make subsequent recommendations and announcements. Well, then I'd really like to see what his plans are for increasing the amount of water that the state of California gets. You know, there's such a thing as aqueducts. You take water from areas where they have abundant supply and you pipe it, build canals, aqueducts to get it to the places that don't have enough. Currently, some communities where local supplies are running particularly short have imposed water restrictions. Santa Clara Valley Water District, based in San Jose, on June 9th declared a drought emergency and asked the 2 million residents of Santa Clara County to cut their water use 15% 2019 levels. But usage in June showed a 0% drop, meaning Santa Clara County residents used the same amount of water as they did 2 years ago. Other large water agencies, including East Bay Municipal Utility District and San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, have no mandatory water restrictions. Newsom is facing a recall election on September 14th. Vote for Larry Elder. That's not in the article, though. Some political observers say that after a year in which he asked Californians to sacrifice during the COVID-19 pandemic, He is likely hesitant to ask for more sacrifice before the elections, which polls show is tight. So he's unlikely to actually make it mandatory right now, but he's already indicated that he will right after the election. So just vote him out. There are other ways that we can solve this, I'm sure. In another time, a governor might call for mandatory restrictions, said Larry Gerton, a professor emeritus of political science at San Jose State University. It seems reasonable from the standpoint of self-preservation that he would be very cautious about causing any more disruption among voters than there already is. Yeah, no doubt. Newsom spent an hour at the still-closed Big Basin, California's oldest state park, where crews have cleared burned buildings and removed trees in danger of falling. We are going to get through this, he said, looking at the charred redwoods, which already were sprouting green branches and shoots. And we are going to come out the other side more capable and more resilient. And that's the end of the article. Yeah, we're only going to come out more capable and more resilient if we learn our lessons. Obviously, California naturally has drought periods. This is something that happens regularly. I don't know why, but we're right next to an ocean, but the rain just doesn't stop here. It doesn't start raining until it gets somewhere else. So we need to find some other way to get rainwater into our area. Stop with the stupid mass transit, high-speed trains, and spend that money on water infrastructure. I don't believe we've done anything new for our water supply since the 1970s. And since then, our state has doubled in size. So we need some people with some foresight. Anyhow, make sure you vote for Larry Elder. This is one of those things that I am confident that we've got control over. We can do this. Make sure you're watching at the polls. Make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you're telling your neighbors to turn in their ballots. And this is something that we can have some measure of control over. There's not much that I personally can do about the devastation going on in Afghanistan, but I'm raising my voice up and trying my best to support Larry Elder and get my neighbors to do that as well. And that's why I'm, part of the reason why I started this channel. So, do your part too. You can share this, like it, comment on it, and hopefully we can get the word out that it is time for a change. Newsom needs to go, and Larry Elder needs to come in. So keep praying. God bless California and God bless America. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.